Mix LR. So let's bring in the man of the hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, here with us, Mr. Mike Sofka. Mike, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you?
Doing well, man, and happy to have you here as always. Happy to have the opportunity to speak with you on fantasy football, and we've covered a lot of stuff. We've broken down every AFC quarterback situation, every NFC quarterback situation. We did the same for the NFC and the AFC show by show with running backs and the entire backfield, and then we did the receiving core with receivers and tight ends. We have really taken the time to, last year I thought we did a lot of work, and this year I feel like we've done even more. And now we have the opportunity to do a show dedicated just to sleepers and overrated players, which again is even more than what we did last year. So it's a truly beautiful thing to be able to do this. And I have a sleepers and overrated player kind of set up here. You can see it here on the video on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as facebook.com/live-now-dt. So we have the title here, and obviously brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. I'm here in the corner. Mike is here on the phones, and we have sleepers and overrated. And so I can kind of scribble them in as we go. And you can see on the bottom ticker there that if you want to sign up for any of the fantasy football leagues in the Syracuse, Central New York area, it is first come, first serve, and space is limited. All you have to do is send an email to dtstays@gmail.com. That's dtstays@gmail.com. We get started early, and our draft is August 29th. I'm going to be there all day long. We're looking to have 4 leagues on August 29th, which is a Sunday. And you can jump into any one of those leagues right now while space still allows you to. So I've given you more than a month, a couple months here to sign up. Go to dtstays@gmail.com, shoot me an email, and let me know that you want in, and we'll be drafting live at the Wildcat Sports Pub on Sunday, August 29th. There's different times for each of our leagues. I think, are going to start around noon, and we're going to carry all throughout the day. So make sure that you send us an email today, dtstays@gmail.com. And if you were in the league last year and you want to keep your spot, then make sure that you respond to the email as well. So, Mr. Sofka, I'm kind of just going to open it up, and we've gone division by division before. It helps to keep us honest with things, so, and make sure we don't miss anybody. So I'll start in the AFC, and we'll be doing the AFC and the NFC with sleepers and overrated players. But if you don't think there is one on a team, then obviously we could just pass it and move on. But I'll start in the AFC East. Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Of those 4 teams, who are the sleepers, who are the overrated players? And then, of course, I'll give mine after you finish up as well.
Well, that any one of these teams can have anybody can be called a sleeper, and it's just a matter of, and you're going to have to give me a second here because I'm organizing my thoughts. I had them broken down by position.
Okay. Well, you know what? Why don't we do that? You can go by quarterback. I was going to go division by division, make sure we don't forget anybody, but I have the divisions set up here with me. So let's start with quarterback, sleepers, and overrated. We'll do it that way. What do you got?
Yeah, well, like I said, just about anybody can be labeled a sleeper, depending on your league, depending on the situation. But a couple guys stand out to me. I got like 3 or so in each position that are sleepers and then overrated. And the guy that I keep coming back to and I don't want to is Sam Darnold. And I say I don't want to because looking at the pathetic way his career started, it's kind of a challenge to say that this guy all of a sudden overnight is going to become a sleeper quarterback. And when I say a sleeper, I mean a guy that's, may not get drafted or may be able to be drafted at the end of your draft. These are guys that you're going to take as your second quarterback. These aren't guys that are going to be your first quarterback. Well, math is math, and a third of the quarterbacks go down every year. So with that being said, I look at the Darnold situation as a blessing in disguise for him. This is a situation where getting literally run out of New York is going to pay dividends for him long term. Look, he's never had the weapons at his disposal that he'll have in Carolina. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. And get this, you look at his schedule to open the season. He's facing the Jets. That's the revenge game. But then he's facing the Saints, the Texans, the Cowboys, and the Eagles in the first 5 games. Not exactly defenses that are going to strike the fear of God into anybody. Oh, and they drafted Terrace Marshall, too. So if he starts the season with confidence, you're going to have yourself a fantasy steal in Sam Darnold. Do you want me to go on to another sleeper here, Dan?
Yeah, you can go ahead and go on to another sleeper. I'm going to write them in as you go, and then I'll discuss if I have anyone that kind of separates from that. But yeah, for now, absolutely. As you talk them, I'll write them.
Okay, great. I got 5 total here, sleepers, for quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes up. And the reason why Ryan Fitzpatrick comes up is this is a guy with a big arm. He's not afraid to throw the ball long. He prefers to throw the ball long. And this is a situation where he's going to have a speedster outside there in Terry McLaurin. Look, last couple places he's been, he's played for every team. He's been a QB1 for you no matter where he is. So this is a guy I can count on to fill in. This is not my number 1 quarterback again, but he's going to be QB number 20. So he's a bottom end number 2, but he has a lot of upside here. I just think with the situation that he has with Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel now, I mean, this is a team that has a lot of strength right now, and their defense can actually benefit from Fitzpatrick keeping them in games because the defense hasn't been super stellar. As a matter of fact, it's been awful. So you need a quarterback that's going to help you get out. He may have to throw the ball a lot more just because the defense is bad. And that's a perfect storm for a smart guy, a Harvard grad like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Daniel Jones is another guy that comes to mind. Look, he's still a young quarterback. I mean, as a rookie in 2019, he finished up 5th in fantasy points per game amongst quarterbacks. Well, things have changed a little bit. He's had to live through some injuries, namely to Saquon Barkley, but the receiving corps hasn't really been super stellar. But they bring in Kenny Golladay. They draft Kadarius Toney. These can be difference makers on the field, either one of these guys. Now, I know Kenny Golladay had, the hip issue last year, and he had a forgettable year and a contract year, but this is all lining up to be very good for Daniel Jones. Right now, he's QB 23 on the rankings. And Jameis Winston is another one. He's probably the lowest cost and the highest upside player at any position as far as early drafts are going right now. He is QB 28, but think about it. When Breeze had an arm, because I think he lost his arm near the end there, when Breeze had an arm and they were clicking, he was able to put up some monster numbers there in New Orleans. And that whole situation, Alvin Kamara, I know Michael Thomas has been down a little bit, but I'm expecting a breakout year from Adam Troutman, and I'll get to that later. Look, Winston's going to be it's kind of like putting your money on red or black at the roulette table. You don't know what it's going to be. There's 50% chance it's going to be nothing but interceptions and bad news, and there's a chance it's going to be a lot of yardage and a lot of touchdowns. So know those things going in. Again, these sleeper quarterbacks are not your number 1 quarterbacks, but these are guys who could take over, fill in on a bye week, or help you out in an injury. These guys may not be draftable for you, and that's fine. Keep their names fresh in your head if they're available on the waiver wire. But I wouldn't be surprised if any one of these 5 broke into top 10, top 12 QB rankings by the end of the year.
Yeah, and Mike, you said you had 5 here. I have Sam Darnold, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Daniel Jones, and Jameis Winston. Who was your other?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one here. Trey Lance.
Okay.
Now, I say Trey Lance, and people are like, hey, he's not even the starter. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo's the de facto starter right now, but here's the deal. The last time Kyle Shanahan had a running quarterback to pilot his rookie seasons of all time, and he didn't even have the offensive line or the players that Lance is going to have now as a rookie. If he can unseat Garoppolo, or if Garoppolo's injury situation still dictates that he's going to need somebody else to step in and step up, this could be a no-look option. So Trey Lance could be a nice streamer option for you. Maybe a mid-round, something where if you're drafting him, I don't like your quarterback situation. So I wouldn't draft him in redraft leagues, all right? In a dynasty league or keeper league, I'm all about it. But a lot has to break right for him to take the field, and it's still early. But I think things are going to break right for him to take the field some point, sometime in this season.
Yeah, so Mike coming out here and giving us his picks for this, and we appreciate him giving us his 5 quarterbacks, and I have some thoughts on that as well, obviously. and who some of these guys can be and who should be a sleeper on your list right now as our whiteboard is is doing its thing and having some fun with us. So we'll be giving you our take as we go throughout at the running back position as well as wide receiver and tight end. But to get back to the quarterback situation and what Mike had to say here, it's interesting that you say Sam Darnold, because I think that as well. And you said that, you kind of hate to put him there. He was still in his rookie contract with the Jets, believe it or not. I mean, to some people, to maybe some Jets fans, you feel like he's been there 100 years. To others, it seems, I mean, he being still in a rookie contract, there was obviously supposed to be a lot more left on the table for him. And so as we look at the sleepers and overrated list right now, I think he fits to be a sleeper. I really do. And so I can second that with you, that I would put him there as well. I do think, obviously he has weapons. He's got guys that can help him out there. So I think that there's a lot to be had with Sam Darnold, and I think there's definitely an opportunity to write him into this mix and to have him up here. And so I think, having him as a sleeper makes perfect sense. And I don't deny it by any stretch of the imagination that this is something that we could really honestly see. And, so I think Sam Darnold makes the list. And I think that, Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's hard to put him as a sleeper just because of the fact that, I mean, for goodness sakes, this guy has been so effective. He's done so many good things, and he has really, truly, been somebody that has been able to get it done. He's been successful with any team that he's been on for the most part. He hasn't been the guy that sticks around always. That's the other issue, is that on a team in and of itself, he's not always there. He's kind of there for a minute, he's there for a spell, he's there for a season or two, and then he goes away. But when he is there, we have seen that he's almost been like a fine wine. He almost has gotten better with time, and I think honestly he has. I think, filling in and doing what he has to do, I mean, he really takes care of business and he handles what he needs to handle. So I think it's easy to kind of write him in there and give him an opportunity to, agree with you on those two gentlemen for sure. And I think, as we look at more of this and kind of look at more people, I think Trey Lance, I mean, yeah, he's a sleeper, definitely. I think he's the sleeper of the sleeper because we don't know when he's going to play. We don't know kind of what the thought process is for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, it kind of looks like, hey, we have Jimmy for another year, and if Trey gets hurt, then if Jimmy gets hurt, then we'll just bring in Trey, and, easy peasy. But they're taking a giant flyer on this. They're taking a giant opportunity to try and make this work. And so in doing that, they're going to really have to roll the dice. And rolling the dice on this one, it's I don't think they're going to roll it unless they have to. And then if and when that day comes, I think he is a deep sleeper. And like Mike said, these sleepers should not be your number one drafted quarterback for your team. Wherever you get them, this shouldn't be your first option at quarterback. So seeing it in that respect, as we look at, kind of what I think about it, I do agree with those three. I think, another guy that I could maybe put on this quarterback list that I could say, I mean, Jameis Winston, of course, you named him as well. And, another one I'd put on there is Deshaun Watson. Not because of his talent, but because he's a massive question mark. We don't know if he's going to play, and if he is going to play, then we don't know, is he going to be suspended? Is it going to affect him? How does the team feel about him? So there's a lot of things that kind of are coming into play with this that have nothing to do with football. It has to do with the fact that there's just been this giant cloud over the Houston Texans. So that's a question that we kind of leave up here and kind of open-ended here at this point with Deshaun Watson. So I'd add him to the list. And another guy that I would say is a potential sleeper, and you said Daniel Jones. I would put Tua on that list. I would put Tua Tagovailoa on the list. And I put him there because he was somebody that, was supposed to be the future. Everybody talked about tanking for Tua 2 years in advance. This is what Miami's doing. They're going to try and get him and take him, when he leaves Alabama. And then they got him, and he got benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, the question is, what do we do from here? I mean, is he the outright guy? Should he be the outright guy? And that's really a question that, comes up in the conversation here is what do we do with this now? And can we trust in him now? So I think that, he definitely should not be your first quarterback taken off the list. And if he is, then you're going to be in kind of a very dicey and tough situation, I would imagine. And so I'm going to go ahead and put him on the list as well. And since the beautiful whiteboard is just not doing what we need it to do today, apparently it doesn't want to have overrateds and sleepers on there. Mike and I are going to continue this conversation and continue to bring that to you. We'll give you our overrated players as well. And I appreciate, Mike Sofka for being here with us where sports meets that thing called life. But, as we kind of ad-lib through the day, it's important to know that we don't want you to ad-lib through your draft. And if you have to ad-lib through your draft, it means you're not paying attention and it means you're not listening. Mike and I are not going to be right about everything, but there's a lot of things that we talk about here on the show. And there's a lot of what?
I'm going to be right about everything. All right.
So, but we're going to do our best to do our due diligence so that you don't have to. We do the work so that you don't have to worry about it. And we want to make it easy for you. We want you to pull up to the draft and feeling like we want you to pull up to the draft like you've won the last 10 championships. We want you to be confident. We want you to feel good. And we want you to roll up in there without any worries on your brain. So, sleepers, once again, Mike gave you his, and we pretty much have agreed. He had Sam Darnold, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jameis Winston, Trey Lance, and Daniel Jones. I have all those guys but sub Daniel Jones for Tua. Those are our sleepers. Mike, who are your overrated quarterbacks for fantasy this season?
Well, the first one was really obvious to me, but it may not be obvious to everyone. It's Aaron Rodgers. I'm worried that Aaron Rodgers might not even play, much like a Deshaun Watson. I mean, it's hard to believe two guys that are elite quarterbacks in the NFL. We don't even know if they're going to be playing this year. But Aaron Rodgers, he just doesn't belong where he's getting drafted at right now. And what I mean by that is he was QB 13 last year, and he ends up being drafted as QB 9. So I there's a lot of guys getting taken above him, but I'm even wondering if that's right. See, 9.1% was his touchdown rate last year, and that's what gave him the MVP basically. But I think that number is going to come down a little bit. I don't think there's going to be that many big play opportunities. I don't know where Devontae Adams' head is going to be. What's the running situation going to be? Is it just going to be Aaron Jones? Is it going to be A.J. Dillon? Is the new rookie receiver going to come in and splash? Is there going to be a big deal? Are we going to see Rodgers to Rodgers, Aaron to Amari? There's a lot of questions. So the fact that he missed everything so far, even the mandatory minicamp, I don't know where his head is. Is his head on jeopardy? I mean, there's only so much, when you're battling your stubborn child and they're standing there arms crossed and they're frowning because they're not getting their way, and you're not going to give in on somebody. Give in. You're going to have to meet somewhere, and I think that's where we're at with Aaron Rodgers. So that's why he's number one on my overrated list right now. If I'm drafting now, I'm trying to stay away from that whole situation, actually. Matt Ryan is another guy who might be overrated, and that's because of Julio Jones departing. Now, Julio Jones has been banged up, I know, but Julio Jones is a solid starter. I mean, he's the guy. When Jones misses, Matt Ryan is not a top quarterback. It's just simple. It's just math. It's just stats. Now, I know they're bringing in Kyle Pitts, and that should help ease things along. But, Kyle Pitts is still a rookie. Yeah, he's a freak. He's like having another wide receiver. And he's got some other familiar names to step up, like Russell Gage. But, you got to wonder, Matt Ryan, is he on the downside of his career? Right now, I got him ranked QB 14. And Justin Herbert. This is a guy who stepped in admirably last year, did a lot better than anybody thought he would. He has a bright future, but right now he's getting drafted above Russell Wilson, and that's just stupid. That's just ridiculous to me. I mean, nobody thought he could do what he could do, and that was without Austin Eckler and Mike Williams. But I don't know if I could take him above Russell Wilson right now. So let's temper our expectations there with the sophomore player. And then Joe Burrow. Everybody says, well, Joe Burrow, he's got these outstanding receivers. Yeah. The receivers are the highest upside group of receivers in the NFL. And Joe Burrow is going to have those guys for at least the next 3 years. And one of them he played with before. Burrow has a lot of potential. Okay, he's coming off a torn ACL because he didn't have the protection in front of him that he needed. Him finishing as a number one quarterback as a QB 12 or better, it almost feels like a trap. I think he's right there. I think he's right on the border at QB 13. And then one more for us, Lamar Jackson. You say, Lamar Jackson, Mike, he's an elite quarterback. Yeah, but he wasn't last year. He did well, and he led his team and did what it took. But I think Baltimore is going to be smarter to tamper down some of his rushes. I know a lot of it's improv. I know a lot of it's broken plays, or he just sees something and he takes off. I get that. But Baltimore's ceiling comes with a healthy Jackson, and the team would be wise to reduce his rushing workload throughout the season. Look, Jackson's better when he's running, and the team's better when he's not running as much. They say they're going to open it up and let him throw the ball a lot more this year, and that I would love to see that. I'd love to see more passes to the running back, J.K. Dobbins as well. But until I see that, it's just coach speak to me. It's just what they're saying to say the right things right now, and you don't know if game time everybody's going to fall back into their little level of comfort. So those are 5 guys who right now are overrated quarterbacks for me.
Okay, and Mike, give those again to everybody if they were just tuning in. Just like the list of them.
Right now, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson.
And so, and Justin Herbert, I know one guy who's definitely going to disagree with this. He's a big-time fan of the Chargers and a big-time fan of their pickups. So I know he's going to have a tough time hearing that one. But, your overrated quarterbacks. Go ahead.
Just because I say overrated doesn't mean don't draft them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean don't. It's just watch where the average draft position. And then if 2 rounds later, 3 rounds later, this guy's still there for some reason, by all means, make a move. But I'm talking about guys getting drafted ahead of where they should be drafted based on what I'm projecting they're going to do next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When Mike says overrated, because someone's going to see, or I say it, someone's going to see overrated and say, how is Aaron Rodgers overrated? How is Joe Burrow, with the upside that he had last year, how could he possibly be overrated? What we're saying is people taking them at a higher draft position than maybe they should. That is the conversation. That's what we're saying. We're not saying that these aren't good quarterbacks. We're not saying they're not capable quarterbacks. We're not saying that they're not going to, get you points and help you out. What we're saying is overrated by, how someone may actually draft them. So, because there's guys that, may get drafted right in the middle, right where they're supposed to be, or right at the top where they're supposed to be, or at the bottom where they're supposed to be. I'm going to say for Aaron Rodgers, yes, I'll say overrated as well. I'll agree with you on that, Mike. The reason why I'll say that is because of the fact that his namesake gets him drafted early. His namesake gets people going after him very, very quickly. And so he's going to get drafted no matter what, and he's going to get drafted early because of his name. If Drew Brees is still playing, same thing. He would get drafted because of his name. So Aaron Rodgers, this whole situation, missing time and all that stuff, he could get injured right away. God willing, he won't. But there's something to be said about the fact that the longer somebody holds out, the more liable they are to get injured. And so Aaron Rodgers, to me, I'm concerned about injury. I'm concerned about the rocky marriage that he has with the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot to be said about this situation that I don't like, which means I think people will draft him high because they see his name on the list and, oh my God, I can't believe he fell to me. But at the same time, it's a dicey situation, and I don't see it necessarily getting any better anytime soon. So that's something I'm concerned about. Another overrated quarterback that I would say that people are going to draft high because they believe the hype, and you may not believe me on this, because of the fact that it's a rookie. But I think Justin Fields is going to be an overrated quarterback in fantasy football. People are already expecting him to walk in, be the starter, be great, be awesome. I've talked to some people on the street about it. The reality of it all is he's going to need time. And when he's going to get the job, too, you know, they have Andy Dalton there. They have Nick Foles there. They have guys that they tried to really put in veteran hope for, you know, kind of put some chips on the vets, and it hasn't worked out. But bringing in Andy Dalton from the Dallas Cowboys, now they have an opportunity to have somebody who's been a starter, who knows how to win, who knows how to get to the playoffs, who could take them a few weeks in. And there's people that are really just flying on Justin Fields very high right now before he's even played it down. So I'm going to say he's overrated because of that hype. You know, I'm not a guy that buys into hype. I'm somebody who buys into actually watching you work and seeing what you do. I'm not a hype person. I'm a show me what you got. I don't want to hear about what you got. Show me what you got. So I'm going to put him on my list as well. Another guy that I would say is an overrated quarterback this season coming in, you know, some of the things are hard for me to say. Like Matt Ryan, I'm kind of on the fence about. I'm on the fence about Matt Ryan because he's good and he's capable and he's done more in the last year or so than I thought he would do. So that's why it's hard, because he's exceeded my expectations, and my expectations might be far different than yours. But he's exceeded my expectations. So it's hard for me to say he's overrated, but will he be overdrafted? Probably. So potentially. So I guess I could put him on this list as well. But that would only give me 3, because there's not a ton of guys that I can really, you know, Justin Herbert, I don't think he's overrated. I think Charger fans will draft him. I think some other people might let him fall to the middle. And Lamar Jackson, is he overrated? Yes and no. There's a lot of hype for him, but he's also a guy that could get you 1,000 yards on the ground and 1,000 yards through the air every season. So as bad as he may be at times, he's still good. So I'm not going to put him on this list. I do think he drops off a little bit. I think last year it was Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Now I think it's Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. And do you argue Lamar Jackson is 3? So that's the question. Or is Kyler Murray 3? So I would say overrated Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, and Matt Ryan is what I feel comfortable with on kind of my shorter list here. And Mike, with that, I send you off to running backs. Who are your sleeper running backs this season?
Well, number one guy is a guy that I was surprised to see slip late in the draft. And I mean late, I mean a third round. This is a guy, fourth round. This is a guy who, if he was drafted onto any other team, I would think he has the chance to be an instant starter and an instant success. The challenge is the guy in front of him is that instant success. I'm talking about Chuba Hubbard in Carolina behind Christian McCaffrey. Well, how is he going to get that many touches? They're going to figure out a way to get him some touches if they're smart, because they know that, well, Christian McCaffrey's can get hurt. He is human after all, and the human joystick in McCaffrey, whether he's catching a ball out of the backfield or running the ball or lining up in the slot, this is a guy who's arguably the number one overall pick in every draft. This is the guy you want. You want Christian McCaffrey. But I think because of the injuries that have happened, and you can flash back to the 2019 year when Christian McCaffrey was having a workhorse year and a heck of a year. Well, so did Chuba Hubbard, over 2,000 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns at Oklahoma State. In 2020, there was a drop-off in his production that ultimately led to him opting out after 7 games. Well, that was his right. That's what he could do. But the potential is there. The legs are fresh. You saw what Mike Davis was able to do when Christian McCaffrey was set aside. I think what they're going to do is they're just going to kind of manage Christian McCaffrey's targets, manage his touches, because they need to help him manage his health. They don't want to lose him. They'd rather have both of these running backs as a 1-2 punch. And I think there's some value, a lot more value than people think, in a redraft league, not just a dynasty or keeper league, and having Chuba Hubbard. Philip Lindsay's the guy that I got to look at as well. I know he's going to a crowded backfield in Houston with David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead. But this is a guy who I like. He's always been the underdog. He was undrafted invite out of Colorado to Denver's camp, and then he came in looking like the number one running back, and he proved himself to be a number one running back. He doesn't back down from any situation, no matter how bad it got. He was still there, and he played out his contract. And, well, I don't know why they brought in Melvin Gordon, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Rashad Penny's another guy that's a sleeper for me. You know, he was starting to get mixed in and sharing the workload with Chris Carson 2 years ago when he had that ACL meniscus injury. So he came back last year, but was only able to play 38 snaps in the final 3 weeks. I know they got guys on the roster, Travis Homer, Alex Collins, DJ Dallas, but I really think that Rashad Penny is going to end up being what we thought he would be. Post-injury here, he's had over a season without the injury, rehabbing and recovering. So I think we're going to see more Rashad Penny, a little less of Chris Carson, unfortunately. And a couple other guys briefly. One is Giovanni Bernard. Giovanni Bernard going to Tampa. Well, what could is in the backfield at Tampa? They already have Leonard Fournette. They already have Ronald Jones. They already have Keyshawn Vaughn. They need a guy who's going to step up and be the James White that Tom Brady is used to having. The James White type guy is Giovanni Bernard. He's the pass catching guy. He's the guy that Tom likes to snap the ball to in a check down if he has to. And you want to hear something funny? I'm talking about Giovanni Bernard playing the James White role for Tom Brady. James White and Giovanni Bernard at one time were members of the same backfield in high school at St. Thomas Aquinas here in Florida. So go figure that out. And Devontae Booker is my fifth sleeper here. Look, I know that he's not an ultra star. I know he doesn't have a super high ceiling, but Saquon has gotten injured, and you never know what you're going to get. Are they going to try to manage Saquon? I wouldn't. I would just let him run and let it rip. I think he does offer bottom-end RB2 production if you give him a chance. I think they're going to mix in some Devontae Booker there with the Giants.
Okay, so Mike, once again, on your list, just so we have everybody, Devontae Booker, you have there with the Giants, somebody who never caught on with the Broncos, Philip Lindsay, Chuba Hubbard, Rashad Penny, Giovanni Bernard, and who else did you have here?
Philip Lindsay.
And Philip, just so we have Philip Lindsay, did you have somebody before Chuba?
Oh, no. Chuba was my number one sleeper, followed by Philip Lindsay, Rashad Penny, Giovanni Bernard, and Devontae Booker.
Okay, so we got all those here for you folks. Want to make sure that as you tune in, you get all the information. We're sharing it on Twitter. You can follow us there. Twitter is @CallDT. That's @CALLDT. And, of course, you're here on Facebook, on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. You can check things out. And, of course, on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So however you're connected with the show and listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as listening on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com, where you will find the Fantasy Football tab, which will give you all these shows back after they are live. You'll be able to have them in the archive whenever you want to check them out. So make sure that you do that. And, of course, we're sharing it here on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT in the comments section as we go as well. So we appreciate you being here and hanging out with us where sports meets that thing called life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're inside the Cafe Cubal studios, and you are inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of or not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Mike giving you his sleeper running backs for the upcoming season: Chuba Hubbard, Philip Lindsay, Rashad Penny, Giovanni Bernard, and Devontae Booker. My thoughts on my sleeper running backs for this upcoming season. I'm going to agree with Mike that Chuba Hubbard is definitely on my list. He's on my list because I think he's going to have an opportunity to get some carries. Christian McCaffrey coming back off of an injury that is no joke by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I think that we definitely have to be careful about him and understand that he may not be the Christian McCaffrey, maybe right off the bat, that we're hoping he's going to be. You know, I'm a little bit concerned. I know people are like, they see the name and they're like, okay, he was gone last year, he's back this year, he's going to be fine. I hope so. I really, God willing, hope so. But Chuba Hubbard, I think, is going to get some opportunities, and I think he's a good handcuff. So I think that, you know, he's definitely got to be on my list of sleeper running backs. I'm not going to choose anybody from Houston, including Philip Lindsay. I know somebody has to run the ball in Houston, but for goodness sakes. I mean, Mark Ingram's there now. He used to have his fun with the New Orleans Saints. Arguably, when he was with Alvin Kamara, they were the best 1-2 punch backfield in the country at the time. And then he goes off to Baltimore, and that doesn't work. And now he is in Houston, and he's with Philip Lindsay and David Johnson. And it's kind of like a graveyard of former number one running backs. And I hope somebody shapes out. But it seems like guys every year keep shipping out. So I can't go anywhere in Houston. I would say outside of that, I'm going to say a sleeper guy is James Robinson. You know, everybody's talking about Travis Etienne. And what's Travis Etienne going to do? And Travis Etienne this and Travis Etienne that, because he knows Trevor Lawrence and they played together in college and they were at Clemson and they were successful. But what about a guy who was undrafted last year in the actual draft and probably undrafted in your fantasy draft and then helped you out in the middle of the season when you were smart enough to get him a couple weeks before everybody else? And no matter how bad Jacksonville was, they only won one game. And no matter how bad they were, what happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars? He continued to impress. He got you the yardage. He got you the points. He either got in the end zone or got you the yards or did both. This man looked like Jacksonville was winning every week because he was helping your fantasy team do everything they could to win every week. I think James Robinson is a forgotten man in a lot of people's cases, and I don't think he should be. So I think he's somebody to look at. Another guy to look at that decided to stay in Tampa is Leonard Fournette. I think Fournette, you know, he is in a crowded backfield, and Mike brought up the fact that Giovanni Bernard's there now, and you know, obviously there's a lot of people in the backfield in Tampa Bay at the moment, which puts you in a situation to say, okay, who's going to get the carries? Who's going to be the guy that they trust? And Ronald Jones is obviously, he's done some good things, but I think Leonard Fournette deciding to stay there, I think there's something to him, and he does have the big play opportunity and the big play ability. So I think they're going to give him the ball at times, and I think he's going to have those moments that you might kind of be pissed off at yourself that you didn't draft him. So you can let him fall. He shouldn't be your number one or your number two, but I do think he's a sleeper. If he's falling in to, you know, your fourth, fifth, sixth rounds, I think he's somebody to look at. Another sleeper that I wouldn't overlook is Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines is a jack of all trades, and I covered him in college. I think Nyheim Hines, because he can catch out of the backfield and do different things, having Carson Wentz there, and Carson Wentz trying to get comfortable and find his footing here, I think it's a good idea to look at a guy like Nyheim Hines, because yes, Jonathan Taylor's going to get the carries, but who's going to get the catches out of the backfield? Now, Taylor's shown that he could do both, but Hines is one of those guys that can really help you out. And he is a guy to put in a true flex position because he is a true flex style running back. So I think Nyheim Hines is another guy that's a sleeper that people may overlook. And I would say Devin Singletary out of Buffalo. I mean, for goodness sakes, this guy was on your thoughts, on your roster. People expected him to be a dominant force, and then he fell off the mark last year, and Zach Moss didn't do that well. Zach Moss also got injured. And so the question became, who's the guy going to be in Buffalo? And now we come into this season and everybody's saying Zach Moss, and nobody's talking about Devin Singletary. So I think Singletary is another one of those guys that you can look to and find some help in your fantasy as one of those sleepers, because, you know, we're talking about a sleeper that could end up being the number one option in Buffalo. So I think he definitely has to fit the bill here because he could be the guy, and most people have already decided to forget about him. I want to add one more into my sleeper list, and I apologize because I kind of just released it on our social media, and I had another one to go here, and he slipped my mind for a second. Michael Carter, the rookie running back who is now with the New York Jets, coming from the Carolina Tar Heels, and he was taught under DeAndre Smith, good friend of mine who used to be the running backs coach at Syracuse. Michael Carter is another one of those guys that I think people are going to potentially pass on, and pass on him because he plays for the New York Jets. So he is a rookie, and he's on the Jets. I think he's going to fall down boards, and there's nobody on the Jets right now to take over and be the true stud at running back. So I think Michael Carter has a great opportunity to do it. I think people will draft Javonte Williams, who was his teammate in the backfield of North Carolina, because he's going to Denver, and they won't draft Michael Carter because he's going to the Jets. But I think Michael Carter could do some good things, and let's face it, the Jets don't have a lot of great things to write home about, and they really don't have any weapons last year to carry over to bring into this year to say that's going to be this guy and that guy at receiver, at tight end, or at running back. So it's kind of open season for Michael Carter, and I think that puts him in a good place to help you out. Mike, your overrated running backs for this season.
Yeah, the first one on my list is hands down, and it's a unique situation here because of what's happened the past 2 seasons in the running back room in Denver. I'm talking about Melvin Gordon. This is 1 year after the signing of Gordon. Basically, they were saying they lacked the faith in Philip Lindsay. Now they let Philip Lindsay leave, and what do? They moved up in the second round to take Javonte Williams, showing that there's a lack of faith in Gordon. So, I mean, they're just churning through these guys, and maybe it just worked out that way. I get it, and it is what it is. But, you know, I look at it this way. Remember when Leonard Fournette was cut by the Jaguars? How did his season end? Well, pretty darn good because he got a Super Bowl ring with Tom Brady in Tampa. So this might be a similar thing. Maybe he doesn't make the roster. Maybe Williams just blows everybody away. They also got Mike Boone, who's capable of being a backup. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions up in the air yet there. I like Melvin Gordon still as a player. I'm just not sure that in the draft right now. So he's probably going to be an RB3 for me, if that. You know, again, these lists here, this overrated and this sleeper list here that we're doing, this is as things currently stand. There's a lot of question marks, and sometimes that's putting guys on the list. And when those question marks get checked off, well, that might change the list a little bit. One of the guys that could change on the list is David Johnson. Look, there's a crowded backfield. I talked about it before with Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram there in Houston, but I think that David Johnson has a chance to prove himself. Unfortunately, I think it's a little bit too late. I think he's going to be overdrafted because of that crowded backfield. I think there's a challenge to having David Johnson on my roster. I'll just leave it at that. You know, again, let's see what things look like closer to the season. But right now, that many names, that many places in the backfield, I'm a bit uncomfortable with giving David Johnson the nod to even be as one of my 5 running backs. Another guy I'm worried about here is J.K. Dobbins. Look, they've been saying, and I talked about it before with Lamar Jackson, they've been saying that they're going to try to make it a point of emphasis in Baltimore to get more looks in the passing game in 2021 for Dobbins. Look, that's not going to happen. We both know it's not going to happen. This stuff's going to break down. Everybody's going to go back to the sandlot, drawing up plays, and running the ball with freakishness like Lamar Jackson does. 10 different running backs had more targets alone than the entire Ravens backfield in 2020. Let me repeat that. 10 different running backs had more targets alone than the entire Ravens backfield in 2020. I can't have that. I know they're trying to get the ball to him, but he only out-touched Gus Edwards by a carry and a half or so. So I can't invest that much money in J.K. Dobbins. J.K. McKissick. This is a guy who I like a lot. This is a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. But there was a perfect storm for him last year with the average depth of targets being low last year. And the only big outside receiver was Terry McLaurin. Well, Antonio Gibson's got a year under his belt. Ryan Fitzpatrick is there now. Curtis Samuel, Diami Brown. They're going to look to get the ball deep. You know, Fitzpatrick isn't there. He's not the guy you're going to bring in to hand the ball off. Yeah, I know he's 143 years old, but this is a guy who airs it out, and that's why you brought him in here. And I think J.K. McKissick may get lost in the dust because of that. And the last one I have, the 5th one on my list here, is DeAndre Swift. I know there's a lot of flash. I know there's a lot of sizzle. But Anthony Lynn calls Jamal Williams his A running back. Didn't say number 1. He's planning on using them both, planning on a situation where Swift is the maybe first 2-3 down back, but Jamal Williams can get on the field, and Jamal Williams is a pass catcher. He's proven that in his past year, so I wouldn't doubt that if he takes something away from DeAndre Swift. So just don't draft. I like DeAndre Swift. Don't get me wrong, okay? Right now I got him RB14, but I just don't know yet how Jamal Williams is going to fit in that offense. So there's a lot to be said yet.
Yeah, you know, and looking at this as Mike and I are talking about the overrated as well as sleeper players for this year's 2021-2022 fantasy football season at the time of our conversation here at the beginning of July. And so for those of you that, you know, watch this video back in August or whatnot, feel free to write to us on YouTube. and as well as to write to us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook, at Call DT on Twitter, at Wake Up Call _DT on Instagram, and of course YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT to give us your thoughts as we go, because some of these things may change and some people may move. And so the other piece of that, I mean, for my side of it, Mike giving you his overrated running backs. My overrated running backs, I'm going to agree with Melvin Gordon. Okay, in Denver, listen, I think Javonte Williams can take over. I'm not sold on Melvin Gordon. People will draft him because of his name. They'll draft him because he's been around. They'll draft him because he's still there, and Philip Lindsay's not there anymore. I don't like it. I don't like the situation. I think Melvin Gordon's one of those guys that could really frustrate you. If he's your number one back on your team, you drafted very wrong. And so, I mean, I don't have to say a ton about Melvin Gordon other than the fact that I don't trust it. If he's my third or my fourth, okay, but I'm really hoping I'm not drafting him at all because I think he's going to bust this year. David Johnson, I'm going to agree with you because David Johnson has been a bust. One of the dumbest Listen, when decisions are made, right, we have thoughts. And they say, okay, let it play out. You know, your initial thought may not be right. Not everything is foolproof. Well, guess what? This one was. The decision to trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson was foolproof. It was clear. It was somebody won and somebody lost. There was a winner and a loser to this trade. DeAndre Hopkins going to Arizona, guaranteed win. David Johnson going to Houston, one of the dumbest decisions they've ever made. And it wasn't even a wide receiver for a wide receiver. Let's get rid of arguably the number one wide receiver in the country for a running back that just got ousted by the second and third string guys. Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds both took over for David Johnson when David Johnson was still there. And Kenyon Drake is not even there anymore. He's in Vegas. He was replaced by guys who were not household names. Replaced by guys that were only supposed to be accents. Kenyon Drake wasn't known. Chase Edmonds was supposed to be an accent. David Johnson was replaced by both. So he's overrated too because someone's going to draft him saying, who's the top guy in Houston? Oh, David Johnson? Yeah, I'll go with him. Dumb pick if you do it. J.K. Dobbins, I'll agree with you, Mike, on this. He's also on my list because of the fact that, you know, people are going to say, who's the leading guy in Baltimore, and they run the ball. That's true. But who runs the ball the most? Lamar Jackson. Now, I've told you numerous times that he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for, but he does run the ball, and he's the leading rusher on the team. So if there's a 1,000-yard rusher on the team, it's not J.K. Dobbins. So for me, I go back and forth with J.K. because look at Gus. Gus was Lamar's guy. Then J.K. came in. Gus wasn't the guy anymore. J.K.'s not the guy. It's Lamar. So I don't think any running back's really going to give you what you need if you're drafting from Baltimore right now. I would say another guy on my list of overrated is Raheem Mostert because he doesn't stay healthy enough. So, you know, and the thing is, they have tried multiple times with multiple different players over the last bunch of seasons. With the last 3 seasons, San Francisco's tried to figure this out, and they haven't been able to. So I put Raheem Mostert on this list because I think people are going to draft him because somebody told them that they were, you know, somebody said that he was good, and someone gave them, you know, a tip and this and that and the other. But the ultimate reality about it is he doesn't stay healthy. / he's in a situation right now where I don't necessarily believe that San Francisco's figured anything out. So could he be good? Yes. But does he need to stay healthy? Absolutely. So I put him as overrated, really with the health issue and the fact that they haven't trusted him to be the dominant guy ever in his time in San Francisco. What did Greg say? Gus Edwards is one of the most effective yards per carry back in the league. Yeah, but Gus Edwards, it doesn't matter. If you're effective yards per carry, that's great. But are you playing? Are you out there? Are you the guy? That's the question. You could average 8 yards per carry, but if they don't hand you the ball, who cares? So, you know, that's to me the issue with Gus Edwards is, yes, he's good. Yes, he has talent. Yes, I liked him last year more than this year. But is Gus Edwards really going to be the help that you need in Baltimore? Is he going to be the help that you need with a team like J.K. Dobbins? Same thing. You draft J.K. Dobbins, that's saying something to Gus Edwards. Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, that's saying something to Gus and J.K. So no matter how effective Gus Edwards is, it doesn't matter. Because ultimately, this man is not the dominant option at running back in Baltimore. It's J.K., but really it's Lamar. So if Gus is your third best option there, that puts you in a tough situation if you draft him. So that is where we're at. And like Greg said, San Francisco runs the ball by committee, which affects Raheem Mostert's carries and affects his numbers as well. With that being said, we're going to take a step aside inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour. We appreciate you being here. Proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Make sure you head out there Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, indoor and outdoor seating, as well as takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Mike and I will be back right after this fast break inside the Cafe Kubal studios to give you our thoughts on the wide receivers, sleepers, and overrated players, as well as the tight ends at those positions, at sleeper and overrated, right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com. On 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. Inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and their newest location, which also has their first ever drive-through. Awesome experience, corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corners for Cafe Kubal. Mike Sofka and I are here this morning giving you our sleepers as well as our overrated players at each position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And it's brought us two wide receivers. So, Mike, who are your fantasy sleeper wide receivers for this season?
I like Russell Gage. I've liked him for a while as a guy that's an under-the-radar type guy, a guy you could pick up off waivers and, spot play, spot ability, sometimes even in daily. Now, look, I know there's a lot going on. Matt Ryan could be diminishing. They just bring in Kyle Pitts, who That could work either way for Russell Gage. That could cut into him, or that could open things up for him. I think Pitts on the field should be seen as a net positive for Gage's fantasy chances, though. I think he's going to match, maybe even go above last year's 110 targets. So there's a great possibility for him. And this is a guy who's going outside the top 150 players in the draft. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and make this guy your wide receiver one. Again, I'm just saying that this is a guy who you could pick up for next to nothing at the end of your draft, and this is a guy who can pay off handsomely for you. Don't forget that, when Gage was getting those 110 targets, they were for Matt Ryan. So there's some trust there with him as well, and the quarterback, and that's always important. Julio Jones no longer in the picture, so that should bode well for Russell Gage. Another guy on my sleeper list here, wide receiver, Elijah Moore, the rookie. There was a writer, I'm not going to say who it was, described Moore as the best player on either side of the ball in the draft. To me, that says that, he should become a quick favorite target for the other rookie. Zach Wilson is going to be throwing the ball to him. And don't forget, the Jets' defense has been abysmal. It's still going to be abysmal. So what does that mean? That means more passing opportunities. That could bode well for Elijah Moore as well. Third guy on my sleeper list, Nelson Aguilar. He had like a prove-it type deal with the Raiders last year, and he got almost 900 yards and 8 touchdowns on 48 receptions. But here's the point. This is a guy who's essentially the number one deep target on his team. That's not good news in a way for the team, New England, but that's good news for the player, Nelson Aguilar. A lot still depends on the quarterback situation there, I know, and Cam does like him some Cam, but I think they're going to be able to open it up a little more. I think he's the one and only legitimate vertical pass-catching threat on that team. So there's a lot of reason to go with him. I want to say John Brown, but I can't overlook these other two guys here. One of them's Gabriel Davis, the third-year project out of UCF. This is a guy who I think is – look, they're going to throw the ball in Buffalo. They're going to be pass-happy. Josh Allen's a great quarterback, but I think Davis is ready to take another step. I think he's ready to go, and I think that Emmanuel Sanders isn't going to be a threat to him. I think that this is an opportunity for him to take the next step. Most receivers do take 2 to 3 years. They're not all Randy Moss. And the last guy on my list is Rondale Moore. This is a guy who's a rookie. This is a guy who's going to offer big opportunity. The sky's the limit with this guy. This is a guy who has all the upside in the world, and he's going into a nice situation in Arizona, and he's got a guy like DeAndre Hopkins to learn from while he's there. He's going to have a pass-happy offense. What can you say about Kyle Murray? This might be an ideal situation. Look, it hasn't worked with Andy Isabella. It hasn't worked that well with Christian. This is the guy who's going to come in. I still think he's a couple years away, but this is a guy who can make a splash this year. Right now, I got him projected as wide receiver 63, so keep that in check. Let me go back here and say that I had Gabriel Davis at 64, Nelson Aguilar at 58. I had Elijah Moore at 71 and Russell Gage at 56. So again, when we're talking sleepers, I'm not saying this is going to be the elite fantasy player of the year. These are guys who can round out your offense nicely in the late rounds or waiver wire of your league.
Yeah, Mike, and you bring up a great list: Russell Gage, Nelson Aguilar, Elijah Moore, Gabriel Davis, and Rondale Moore. And I'll say right off the bat, I do have some more to add to this list, but Rondale Moore is a guy that I'm high on because, listen, Christian Kirk hasn't figured it out yet. A.J. Green is not for long, and DeAndre Hopkins is the dominant guy. So Rondale Moore coming in and them spending a draft pick on him says something in Arizona that they're looking for the guy. Christian Kirk was supposed to, in my estimation, take the baton from Larry Fitzgerald, and that didn't happen. So Rondale Moore could do that. And if he's the third option in Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray is getting the ball out there to a bunch of different guys, Rondale Moore as a third option in Arizona could still be really good. I think he can rise to number 2. I'm high on him, so I like putting him as a sleeper wide receiver. Gabriel Davis, I agree with this as well. Covered him. I cover UCF, and so in covering UCF, this guy coming from the Knights, there's a lot to be said about Gabriel Davis and his ability, and I like what he can do in Buffalo. I think it's a wide open door behind Stephon Diggs, and he did some good things last year. I think he's definitely a sleeper, but I think people know more about him, obviously, now than they did last year going into the draft. They would have left him undrafted, wouldn't even have known his name. Now people are going to start thinking about him when things get dicey, as well as a lot of guys start coming off the list, and you're scratching a lot of guys off the top 30, top 40. Russell Gage, I agree with this one as well. His numbers almost he had 72 catches last year. He had over 700 yards, almost 800 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And that was with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. So I think that this stands to reason that Russell Gage will boost up a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about Matt Ryan and what quarterback he's going to be and how long he intends to stick around in the NFL, because he's been there for a minute. But I think Russell Gage, definitely things open up, because Calvin Ridley's had 3 terrific seasons. And then you have Kyle Pitts. I still think Calvin Ridley, in order to be successful, needs some help. I think Pitts can draw that and help out Ridley. So if Pitts does that for him, because he's not a traditional tight end, then Russell Gage really opens up, because if they're keying in on those 2 guys, they're not keying in on him. And I think if they're going to key in on anybody, it's not going to be Gage. So I like those 3 guys at it. I would also add more players to this list, the wide receivers to my sleepers. I would add Laviska Shenault as well as DJ Chark. And the reason why I would add both of these gentlemen is because they now have a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and we know that Laviska can get out there and do his thing, and we know that he could be effective. We know that, a lot of people like his speed and his ability there. Well, what I like about Laviska is that, first and foremost, he's only had 1 season under his belt. Secondly, he has Trevor Lawrence. Chark has shown he could do some good things, but having these 2 guys healthy and young, with Trevor Lawrence opening up this offense, I think that this could bode well for both of them. And I think Jacksonville receivers get a little more salivating to take, so to speak, when you look at the fact that Trevor Lawrence is now there. So I would put them both on the list right now. Arguably, I could put Marvin Jones Jr. on the list for the same reason. Another guy I would put on the list as a sleeper, just because people are not sold on him at all, is Devontae Smith. Now, he's a deep sleeper, in my opinion. But Devontae Smith being drafted and being the Heisman Trophy winner, going to Philadelphia from Alabama, he's a guy that people are already kind of buying into. Yeah, he's not going to be good enough. He doesn't have it. He's not big enough. Forget about him. And so people are forgetting about him before they even have a chance to think about him. So I think that says something. And you might be able to steal him away. And maybe he's your 3rd or 4th receiver. If he's your 4th guy, I think you drafted well. My other guy I would put on the list, because he's reunited with his quarterback in Carolina, is Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was the best option for Sam Darnold in New York. Technically in New Jersey, because they play in East Rutherford. So, and that's reality. Can't fight me on that, Jets fans. But when Robbie and him were separated, it affected Sam Darnold. And I think Robbie being back with him, they had started to kind of figure stuff out. They had started to kind of work this thing for a couple seasons, and then it was taken away. I think Robbie Anderson becomes a potential number 1 in Carolina, and if not, a number 2. And because he already has a relationship with Sam Darnold, remember, every quarterback has their guy. So Robbie Anderson could be a guy that definitely falls down the chart, and he could really help you out if and when that happens. And I think it's going to happen in a lot of leagues. Mike, who are your overrated receivers?
Rated receivers, the number 1 matches the number 1 quarterback I had, and that's Devontae Adams. Right now the question marks are too great for me with Aaron Rodgers. I'm leaning toward him coming back. He's just he's an elite receiver. When you put him with Aaron Rodgers, he is an elite receiver. He's one of the top 3 receivers in the game. But losing Aaron Rodgers would be the absolute opposite. This would be devastating for him, and I don't think he'll put up the same numbers. Now, some good statistical years, but it's hard to keep that up, especially when, you're missing a lot of OTAs. You're in mandatory minicamp with your quarterback, who you think is going to be your quarterback anyway. There's just a lot of question marks right now. Kenny Golladay is another guy I'm worried about here. Off the injury, this is a guy that, I think he could just wash the whole 2020 season due to the hip injury. But here's the thing. Is he going to be able to reproduce? Are they going to use him like he can be used? There's some question marks because Jason Garrett and Daniel Jones last year were very inefficient. So some changes coming here, and it's not exactly known how Daniel Jones and Kenny Golladay are going to pair up totally. I mean, are they going to work well? A lot of the passing routes are all timing routes. And there's some guys that prefer a back shoulder. There's some situations need a back shoulder. There's some that you're going to need to throw it up and let your guy get it. I think Kenny Galladay's that guy, but is that really back? So there's some question marks there for me with Kenny Golladay. Adam Thielen, this was a guy who was thought to be the number one receiver on Minnesota. Stephon Diggs had to leave so he could be the number one somewhere else. And now Adam Thielen is getting replaced, it looks like, by Justin Jefferson. So, look, last year he did have a career-high 14 touchdowns. I get it. But that was with the moon, the stars, the planets, everything aligning here. I just look for, a decent year for him, but I don't think Adam Thielen's the elite receiver some people feel he is. Right now I got him as wide receiver 22. Marquise Hollywood Brown in Baltimore. We've talked about this with J.K. Dobbins. We talked about this with Lamar Jackson. For a reason, all these Baltimore players keep showing up on my overrated list, and it is what it is. I don't purposely do that. This is just the way it happened. They're preaching a good game. They're saying they're going to throw the ball. They draft Tylan Wallace. They say they're going to get the ball downfield. They still have Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins. Marquise Hollywood Brown is a legit deep threat in the NFL. Can he be that deep threat with Baltimore? Can Lamar Jackson and company, are they really going to step up and pass the ball more? I haven't seen it yet. Maybe that'll change closer. Deebo Samuel is my last one here, wide receiver 38. Look, he's a fun player. This is a guy I like to watch, but his average depth of target in only 7 games last year was 2.2 yards. You need to get this cat the ball down the field. But right now we have a problem. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. They say it's going to be Garoppolo until Trey Lance. Look, I like Deebo Samuel. If he's your 4th or 5th receiver, God bless you. But he can't be one of my top 3 receivers of my team. And that should be my 5. To recap here, I had Devontae Adams. I got him ranked 6th. He's not going to be the number 1 or number 2 that you think. Kenny Golladay, 26. Adam Thielen, 22. Marquise Hollywood Brown, 47. And Deebo Samuel, 38.
And taking a look at that list and knowing that, and some of these guys I definitely can see, the argument for it. I think, definitely Devontae Adams becomes overrated if the Aaron Rodgers situation goes even more south. We don't know exactly where this situation is because everybody's tight-lipped, and those that I know close to the situation, it's been locked down. So knowing that Devontae Adams goes as Aaron Rodgers goes, so that puts us in a very unique situation that's not great because without Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams is talented, obviously. But bringing in Jordan Love, we could see the numbers drastically change for Devontae. So I can agree putting him on an overrated list because of the unique situation, which is the exact reason why I put Aaron Rodgers on the list, and agree with you on that one, Mike. Marquise Hollywood Brown, I'll agree with you on that. I'll agree with you on that because, he's supposed to be the number 1 guy in Baltimore. And the question is, being the number 1 guy in Baltimore, what does that give you? How much does that give you? How much real estate is that? And they brought in Sammy Watkins. They're trying to move the ball around. They have Miles Boykin still and some other guys. So the question is, where can we really go from here with Marquise Hollywood Brown? What is his upside? Is he going to get the... I'm concerned that Lamar Jackson is not the quarterback to get the most out of Marquise Hollywood Brown, which is why I think he stands on this overrated list. Another guy on the overrated list that I would argue here is I think he's going to be drafted higher than he should be, but I think he's talented. So hear me out on this one. I think Cooper Kupp, because I think, people kind of realized over the last couple of years, hey, I didn't know who this guy was, and then he ended up beating me in fantasy, and he's really good, but listen, he's got to stay healthy. And Matt Stafford's his quarterback. He did good stuff with Jared Goff, But what's he going to do with Stafford? I think the team's going to be better. I think Stafford's going to bring everybody up. But Cooper Kupp, I think, is going to get overdrafted, which is why, and I think he's going to be drafted higher. I might let him go for another guy. So that's somebody I put on my overrated list. I'd also put on the overrated list because it's kind of been shoved down our throats, but it's not necessarily been proven. DJ Moore is not the number one receiver in Carolina right now. Number one, they have a new quarterback in Sam Darnold. Number two, like I said, in the sleeper side, he already knows Robbie Anderson. And DJ Moore hasn't done enough to prove to me that he should be the guy. So I think DJ Moore is overrated as well. And to pick one more guy in this, I would say Brandon Cooks. People see his name. They see that he's in Houston. They see that he's supposed to be the number one option because what options do they have in Houston? And I'm not sold on Brandon Cooks. And outside of some moments with New Orleans, I haven't been sold on Brandon Cooks. So I would put him on my list just because there's no other options doesn't make him a good option, right? If the option was to eat a scorpion or eat a grenade, neither one of those is a good option, but you're thinking I have to eat one of them. Why do you have to eat one of them? Why not just fast for the day? I'm good without the grenade and the scorpion. Thank you very much for the offerings. I will not be taking either today. So I think Brandon Cooks, just because he's the only shot, doesn't mean he's a good shot. And that's why I think he's overrated. Because someone's going to say, who's the guy from Houston? Someone's going to pick him up and grin thinking, I got myself a steal. And I'm going to let you think that. Because I'm not touching really anything in Houston with a 10-foot pole. However, I do like traveling to Houston from time to time because the city's a nice place. Just not a big fan of the decisions they made with their football team. Finally, Mike, sleeper tight ends and overrated tight ends. Let's start with sleepers.
Yeah, sleepers. I almost don't want to tell everybody this because I know, some people that listen along and follow along with us I play in leagues with. But look, Adam Troutman. This is a guy who has the moon, the stars, and the planets lining up for him right now. Look, Jared Cook, Josh Hill, both waived. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders is out. There's question marks with Mike Thomas now. When he was in college a couple years ago at University of Dayton, he accounted for production. And when they grade you out in college, they use something called a college dominator rating. If you look at that rating, his rating is higher than Darren Waller and Travis Kelce's. He's one of the best run-blocking tight ends out there. So this is a guy who is going to be on the field. He's going to have opportunity. Jameis Winston's familiar with throwing to the tight end, especially in the red zone from his days in Tampa. So if he's the quarterback, so be it. I think Adam Troutman has the absolute ceiling of being your tight end number one. Bottom end, of course. Right now I've got him at tight end 22. Gerald Everett in Seattle. I think this is kind of a boom or bust play, but I'm leaning toward boom. I think that this is a situation where he can come in and be the guy. He doesn't have to split a lot of time with Tyler Higbee finally. This is a guy who Russell Wilson likes to throw the ball to the tight end. We know that as well. So it's an ideal situation. I got him ranked at tight end 24 right now. Blake Jarwin with Dallas, this is a guy who should be doing something. Look, if he had stayed healthy and got a relationship with Dak Prescott, I think that there's something here. And I talked about Jared Cook leaving New Orleans before, opening the door for Adam Troutman. Well, the door opens for Jared Cook. Yeah, I know he's 150 years old, but he's going to the Chargers. Now, the Chargers have some other guys on the roster I know that can catch the ball. And I know you're going to say, well, Mike, why do you talk about these other guys and yet you say this about Jared Cook? Jared Cook is the red zone guy. Jared Cook is the guy they're going to throw touchdowns to, okay? I know they drafted Trey McKitty. I know Darnold Parham's on the roster. I get all that. But Jared Cook is a polished, seasoned veteran. He should have the number one tight end job there in LA for the Chargers. Anthony Firkser in Tennessee. This is just basically a late-round flyer for you, but he could still wind up being a bottom-end tight end, too, for you. He's still a dart throw in my mind, but again, 70% of his routes lined up from the slot in 2020. That's huge. And don't forget, they got A.J. Brown on that team. Oh, and they just brought in Julio Jones. You would think that that would take away from him. I think it's going to add to the opportunity for him underneath. If they're doubling Julio or if they're doubling A.J. Brown, they probably can't double both of them. That's going to open things up for Anthony Ferguson. I got him at tight end 25 right now. So to recap, Ferguson at 25. I have Jared Cook at 23. I have Blake Jarwin at 18. I have Gerald Everett at 24. And I have Adam Troutman at 22. And again, these are guys that you'll probably be able to snatch up at the end of your draft or the waiver wire.
Yeah, Mike Salka's sleeper tight ends here being brought to you inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. minimally. And obviously, we typically go over as we have today. Under promise, over deliver, and give you that time. Brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open 7 days a week, indoor and outdoor seating. And, of course, you can find them for takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. With that being said, my sleeper tight ends now have the opportunity to bring you my list after Mike gave you his. And so, I would say kind of to start things off, one of my sleeper tight ends, Anthony Ferguson for Tennessee. I would agree with that. I think what surprised me the most during all of this is that, I was never 100% sold on Jonnu Smith, so let me not say it surprised me, but he was supposed to take the reins when Delaney Walker was all done. And I felt like Delaney Walker's swan song was a little bit too soon. It kind of felt like it sped up. But now that Anthony Ferguson is there in Tennessee, they have a lot of weapons. And having a lot of weapons kind of opens him up. And somebody at tight end is going to have to catch the ball. Now, someone could oust him there. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. But I think it puts him as a sleeper still because they're not going to be focused on him. And if you're not focused on him in the red zone, that could definitely help you out. Another guy I would put on this list is O.J. Howard. I would put him out of Tampa because Rob Gronkowski's there. Everybody knows Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski have a bromance. But O.J. Howard is still a very talented guy who's dipped down a lot of these lists, fallen into, lower tiers, late 20s, maybe 30 out of the top 30 tight ends. I think O.J. Howard has something to give you here. And again, when you're a sleeper, you're probably the backup tight end. You should be the backup tight end on someone's draft. So, if this is my second guy, O.J. Howard, I'm not mad about that at all. He fell in drafts last year, and I think he could fall again. Another deep sleeper, I know he's kind of toward the end of his career, but I would put him as a deep sleeper here because of the fact that I think that people are not even going to know that he's on this team, but he could rise if Engram falls, is Kyle Rudolph. He's a deep, deep guy. If you have to draft 3 tight ends, not a bad guy to kind of grab and stash. I think Rudolph, because he's talented and because he's coming onto the Giants team and Evan Engram has been up and down and been injured, I think it puts us in a situation where Kyle Rudolph could spark and kind of, really, really kind of hit you and make you think, why didn't I think of that guy? Another guy that I think a lot of people aren't going to think of is someone that I watched in the XFL, and he was one of my top 5 players, Donald Parham Jr. He's with the Chargers now, and he has the opportunity to take over. There's no Antonio Gates there. There's no Hunter Henry there. He has the chance to be the dominant guy in Los Angeles for the Chargers. I like that. So I'm going to put him on my list. And another guy that I'm going to put on my list is Jordan Akins. And I'm putting Jordan Akins on the list because Houston has a problem. Many, many problems. They don't have a great running back. They don't have a great wide receiver. So Jordan could get some time here and get some opportunities and get looked at here because he's not on a team. Typically, the tight end is your last option. Well, on this team, it could end up being the first option because they don't have many options. So I like Jordan to do some good things here, and I'm excited to see what he can do. So he'll be another sleeper. And I feel like I have more, but I'll leave it at 5, and obviously there's more shows to come in the future. Mike, overrated tight ends.
Yeah, right now it's Logan Thomas. This is the guy I'm going to stay away from. He had an unexpected tight end 4 finish in 2020, and he had 110 targets, but that was just the situation. Those targets only trailed Travis Kelce and Darren Waller. That's why guy who's bounced around his whole career. Looks like he finally may have found a spot in Washington, but he's got other guys in that tight end room as well. So you got to question, was that a one-hit wonder for him? Was that the freak situation, or they drafted John Bates? And, what are we going to see out of the tight end position? Well, we don't know. Ryan Fitzpatrick likes to air the ball out. They got some talent at receiver and at running back. I think this is a bad situation for Logan Thomas. I don't think I'm going to be after him. I got him ranked tight end 9 right now, but a lot of people are going to look at what he did last year and look at, oh, yeah, he's still the starter. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, oh, yeah, I think he's going to be overdrafted, okay? Robert Tonyan's another guy I'm kind of worried about. He's 6 or better if I'm in a 12-team league. If I'm in a 10-team league, I want all my guys across my roster to be 5 or better. That puts me in the upper echelon at every position category. So these guys who are on the bottom of tight end 1, a lot of these guys may be drafted higher than they should be. Robert Tonyan, for instance. He was getting touchdowns. 18.6% of his targets were touchdowns. Well, he didn't have enough targets for me, but still, in a touchdown-only league, that did you real well last year. I don't think that's going to continue. Question marks still abound in Green Bay with the quarterback situation as well. Kyle Pitts, another guy who I think is going to be overdrafted. I got him at tight end 6, but a lot of guys are, I've seen people trying to take him over, guys like Travis Kelce and a Waller. I just don't see that yet. Give him time. Look, a lot of guys, when they're a rookie tight end, okay, this is a guy who is above all expectations ever. In the history of tight ends for rookies, this guy's expectation is going to be huge. Did you know the last rookie tight end 800 yards receiving was Jeremy Shockey with 894 in 2002? So what does that say? Even Gronk finished with 10 touchdowns in 2010, but he only had 546 yards. So temper your expectations here. This is a guy who could get overdrafted by some rabid Gator fan. Also on my list, Mike Gesicki out of Miami. Look, he's a great guy to have on your team, maybe in a best ball league. Yeah, he's proven his worthiness on the field there. But don't forget, Tua's a new quarterback to the situation here. Dolphins have added Will Fuller and Tua's old buddy from college, Jalen Waddle. I think this could really line up to be a bad situation for Gesicki this year. And Rob Gronkowski, again, temporary expectations. Well, another full year, and they're going to have the full preseason. Gronk doesn't want to have anything to do with preseason. He wants to be on the party yacht, okay? He'll show up game day. I got him tight end 16. He's not your number 1 tight end on your team. If he is, you're fooling yourself. Dan said wonderful things before about O.J. Howard, and I concur. And don't forget, Cameron Braid is in that tight end room as well. So I've got Rob Gronkowski at 16. I've got Gesicki at 12. I've got Kyle Pitts at 6. I've got Tonyan at 10. And I've got Logan Thomas at 9. Those are my overrated tight ends.
Yeah, and I can, and like you said, Mike, just because you have them on the overrated list doesn't mean that they're good. It just means that you think, what we're both saying is that they're going to be drafted higher than they should be, or people may buy into the hype too quickly. Somebody might go get Kyle Pitts in the second round when I'm going to turn around and get, Kareem Hunt or something like that. It's the reality of the fact that when we say overrated, we're talking about the hype. We're talking about somebody drafting them higher than the position that we think that they should be drafted within the draft. So if we think they're a third-round guy and they're getting drafted middle of the first round, then that's what we're saying to you. If you're going very, very high on these guys and buy into the hype, I'll agree with you on Logan Thomas being overrated because, listen, I don't think that any tight ends in Washington of the last few years has been a guy that you could trust because their best one couldn't stay healthy. So I'm going to put Logan Thomas on this list as well. Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick can help guys get better, but I think he's going to help the receivers out more. I think he's going to have a good relationship with Terry McLaurin. I think there's going to be non-household names that you're going to say, who the heck is this guy? But Ryan Fitzpatrick's there now, and he's helping him out. Robert Tonyan, I'll agree with you. Again, following the parallels with Mike's list because of the Aaron Rodgers saga. Aaron Rodgers, an overrated quarterback because people will draft him high, but there's a situation there. Devontae Adams is tethered to him. Robert Tonyan is tethered to him. And even Robert Tonyan last year, I put him on my team during the season. He didn't do a lot for me. He did a little, but he didn't do a lot. Mike Gesicki, I'll agree with you on this as well. Why? Because he's supposed to be good. Why? Because he was their only option. Why? Because Devontae Parker has never really shown out to be what you hope he would be in Miami. So Mike Gesicki became the dominant guy. Every single week when Mike and I give you our players to play, I always said on Miami, if I had to put anybody feet to the fire, it was Mike Gesicki. He was their best option. And because he's their best option, he's overrated. Because I think that with Tua now having Jalen Waddle and hopefully getting more comfortable and whatnot, Mike Gesicki could dip off here. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's somebody you shouldn't have as a lower end 1, tight end 2. I just think he's going to be overdrafted because people have this expectation. I'm going to agree with Rob Gronkowski on your list as well, because I said it about O.J. Howard. People are going to sleep on him. That's why he's a sleeper. And they're going to draft Rob Gronkowski because he's Tom Brady's, fake boyfriend. So that's what you see in the reality of it. People are going to draft Gronkowski because of his name, because of the relationship, because he seems timeless with Tom Brady. He does good things, but remember, folks, he didn't show up till the end of the season. And what he did in the playoffs doesn't affect your fantasy because our season ends in the regular season. So that's something to look at. Kyle Pitts, I can agree with this because people are going to be really high on him. I'm high on him, but I think he's going to be drafted too high. I think he's going to be arguably behind Travis Kelce. He might be the next one pulled off the list. People are going to forget about George Kittle, forget about Darren Waller, forget about Mark Andrews because they're going to draft Kyle Pitts because all they're hearing right now is Pitts. And so they are going to draft him having these high expectations. Not that those won't be met. I think he'll meet your expectations within reason. But I think you're going to draft him really high. I want him too. I don't want him in the first round, and I don't want him in the second round. So that's how I look at things. Another guy that I would say maybe overrated here is going to be, actually I'm going to put 2 guys on this list. And that's because we don't know which one's going to show out, and we don't know who's going to throw to them. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith because he was a starter with the Tennessee Titans, and he was supposed to be the heir apparent behind Delanie Walker, as I mentioned before. Hunter Henry because he was supposed to be the dominant guy with the Chargers. And now we see a pissed off Bill Belichick go and get them both, so we think these guys have got to be good, right? They've got to be the dangerous guys. Well, we don't know who's going to get the ball more than the other, and we don't know when it's going to shift to Mac Jones, and we don't know how Cam Newton's going to be used. So there's a lot of what ifs, which means that because we know that Bill Belichick's pissed, and because he didn't really have tight ends and he drafted 2 and they didn't really show out, now him making the decision to go get these 2 starters from other teams, people are going to say, definitely on Hunter Henry, but then next on Jonnu Smith, hey, if I get these guys, I feel good. But Tom Brady's not there anymore. And we don't know what Mac Jones is going to be, and Cam Newton is not for long. So question marks are all around Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. However, I think people will draft them high because they're Patriots and because Bill Belichick went out and got them after Bill Belichick got pissed. And we know that hell hath no fury like a Belichick scorned. So, with that being said, that's my list. As always, Mr. Sofka, you bring it, and I appreciate it. Thank you for challenging me every single week. Sleeper, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Overrated, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in this entire broadcast. All you have to do is listen or watch this before draft day, and you will be better prepared. And that is thanks to the awesome work of Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, who I'm always proud to co-host with, and you can find us both on Winning Fantasy Football's group on Facebook. Thank you, sir, as always.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to having a very winning season again, so come along with us.
That coming from Mr. Mike Sofka. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. And that coming from Mike one more time, here where sports meets that thing called life. So, with that being said, we're going to take our final step aside of the show as we've gone almost, 3 hours today? Yes, almost 3 hours today. Well, that's because I care, and Mike does too. So proud to be here with you. We'll take our final step aside inside the Cafe Cue Ball Studios. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here for you, having fun with you. I don't know what this was. I think I was trying to be Superman for a minute, and I'm okay with that. So we'll take a step aside, and we'll be back inside the Cafe Cue Ball Studios right after this.
Pickleball Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market and download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store so you'll have everything at your fingertips today, from their homemade breads and desserts to their quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, as well as their brick oven pizzas and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski, ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds. They are here for us every Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And when I say they are here, 3 different ways you can enjoy the Millhouse Market. Go on the app or call them and order for pickup and go drive right up to the drive-thru. You don't have to leave your car. You pull right up, drive-through for a local business. I love it that 2 of my local businesses have drive-thrus. Drive right up, grab your food, and go. And you can also go inside for indoor dining. And, of course, you can go inside for their general store with local products from local companies outside of the Millhouse Market even, because they love helping each other. So make sure that you go out there today and support the community by supporting a great place within our community on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, the Millhouse Market, worth the drive. Every single with DT and PTG, we found out that Prince Tyson Gully used to be on a step team, and his whole family knows how to line dance, as well as talking with him on Name, Image, and Likeness, which was a lot of fun this morning to get his thoughts and his approach. And, of course, as always, every Wednesday in hour number 2, the Wildcat Sports Pub, bringing you the Fantasy Football Power Hour. And today we brought you sleepers and overrated players at each position, from quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Sleepers at each position, overrated players at each position. Who could you sneak in and pick up that people aren't thinking about? And who can you understand that people may draft way too high? Not that you shouldn't draft them, but just temper when you do. So thank you to Mike for that incredible conversation. And thank you to our newest partner, Mother's Cupboard. We're going to be doing some awesome things with the Mother's Cupboard. They officially started with us this past end of the week going in to this. So officially they were here with us right after the 4th of July. So as the fireworks happened over the weekend, we had our own fireworks here at Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with having quite arguably the most notable local restaurant in the history of Syracuse now be with us, partnered with Wake Up Call. Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole Frittod, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. We will be doing amazing things with them, including having monthly food challenges, and Wake Up Call will have its own menu item that can be ordered daily, 7 days a week, exclusively at Mother's Cupboard. Shout out to the Mother's Cupboard. So happy to have you with us. So, with that being said, thank you to Prince Tyson Gully. Thank you to Mike Sofka. Thank you to Mother's Cupboard. And, of course, make sure that you're listening and watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/livenowdt, as well as on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. And you should go to the home page of wakeupcalldt.com and kind of check everything out. You know, spend some time. If you take like 10 minutes a day with wakeupcalldt.com to really sift through it all. There's a lot of great stuff there for you, including an archive that dates all the way back to 2012 for our audio, and our videos are on there. There's plenty on the homepage. There's a Central New York tab to let you know the businesses we work with even more and get you all the information so you can order from them and go to them and hang out with them and really utilize their services, be it you needing a car or needing something to eat or whatever it may be. We just love working with the incredible people in our community. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, if you need somebody to help you with an injury, there's a lot of great opportunities that we have there for you. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, and Podbean. Just search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or Wake Up Call DT, one word. Thanks to Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Chick-fil-A Cicerone, Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, Millhouse Market, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, and Mother's Cupboard for partnering with us. And so you can literally order from Ma and Pa's anywhere in the country and get 20% off by going to maandpawspopcorn.com and using the promo code DT20. That's DT20. Make sure that you do that today. And thank you so much to Ma and Pa's for all they do. For now, this is Wake Up Call inside of the Cafe Cubal studios. We will see you tomorrow, God willing. And I hope you enjoy your day and have a fantastic one. Thank you so much for being here. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And as always, I'm praying for you, baby Noah. And be good, everybody. Please be safe. Please be well. And remember that if you're not willing to risk anything, or if you're not willing to risk something, you can never gain anything. Love yourself. Love your life. Take good risks and just believe. Have faith. All right? I love y'all. Have a great day. God bless. No stress. Do your best.